Thank you so much for joining this impromptu short webinar. I'm hoping to do it in maybe even less than 15 minutes. Maybe, um, I allotted about 30 minutes. My name is Lucian Toma, and I am running a permaculture course that's starting on September 4th. This is a permaculture course that is going to have 20 live sessions that will be free for anyone to watch live on the Level Up, different Level Up permaculture platforms. One of them would be here on Facebook. Those sessions will also be live on Zoom. But the Zoom presentations basically will be available just to certain types of participants. So anyone that wants to participate for free in a full permaculture course, basically the whole content presentations of a permaculture course can do it. They can watch the 20 sessions. 18 of them will be myself presenting. 2 of them will be some of the participants at a higher level in the course presenting. So the course has 4 different levels. It has a level for free that people can watch the live sessions, the presentations for free, the 20 of them. Then there's a level that's donation based. People that make a donation of $17 or more can actually have access to the recording indefinitely. They can watch the recording of the video on one of the platforms. Might be Facebook, might be a private YouTube channel, for example, with access just to the people that did that simple donation of $17. And then, of course, for that level, there will also be a little bit more interaction and more resources that will be provided in the platforms where people would be joining. There's another level, the level of the full course content. That's $197. For that, participants will get access to the presentation, the live presentation, the recording of the live presentation, the presentation itself in PDF format or other formats if they're interested. They will get my approval to use the presentation as open source if they want to use parts of that presentation. And then also at that level, they would basically receive the content of a full permaculture course, which would include not just the recordings and the presentations, but a lot more resources on every single one of the topics of a typical permaculture design course. Mine, of course, the Level Up Permaculture is going to have more content that is usually contained in a permaculture course. So at that level of the full content, there will be books, full digital books for download, a lot of them that are already available for free for people to find themselves if they want to find them on their internet. Others that I have permission from the authors to provide them as a free download. And then there will also be links to full free books where I will guide the participants to go, and they'll have to basically provide their information in exchange for those free books. Again, basically work that I've been putting in to put together all of these resources that are available out there. And then, of course, a lot of research-based handbooks, a lot of research-based guidebooks, articles, journal entries on all the topics. And I will be sharing a little bit about what the topics of that course will be. Quite a lot of them, from water systems to soil systems to the design process itself, and much more. So beyond a full standard permaculture design certification course out there. And then there's the level of design certification where those that registered, and I'm very, very excited that there are people from around the world that have actually registered for the design certification level. At the design certification level, people will get to be live in my presentations, and they'll get 1 extra hour of questions and answers after each presentation. And then every week, they also will be able to have, of course, everything from the full content of the course, but I will also give them tasks to be able to navigate towards finishing a design project, design of a landscape. It could also be the design of a business. It could be a design of a landscape with business. And we got some people that are aspiring farmers, aspiring homesteaders, and existing farmers and homesteaders also that have joined, and also some people that are doing some more communal projects. So projects for two eco villages, which is super exciting. So I will be available, myself and a few other people from my past graduates and other people, peers of mine, that will be available to answer questions once per session. And then also each person will get 30 minutes per month of direct basically project mentorship. And there's also another hour of mentorship every other week. There will be an hour of design mentorship. So the people that registered for the design certificate level will have access to myself as a designer, my partner Anna Maria, who's a designer also, and of course we're also practitioners, so we're like walking the talk also. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the course. I do have another slide that I will share a little bit more about that. But today I just wanted to just provide a little bit of value that will be inside of the course, just to get kind of the type of idea that this course, even though we will talk about a lot of subjects and we'll provide a lot of resources on composting, let's say, or how to design and build a bioswale in its right context. We'll even talk about how to design and build a pond. We'll talk about plant choices in different places, and market garden management versus short and long term orchard management. We'll talk about animals. We'll talk about natural building. Of course, a lot of that knowledge with a lot of details in the resources that we're providing. But the biggest thing that we are doing with this course is to really help people put a designer's lens on, so that they can really design a place that is regenerative and resilient for themselves or for others. So we're designers. We've been doing it as a business for a long time, but we're also practitioners, meaning that we have designed for ourselves and we're living inside of permaculture. You can go on social media and see our story is there and all of the things that we are doing. So therefore, today, I'm sharing about the importance of holistic context analysis in permaculture projects for better regenerative and resilient designs and plans. So what's the context? Why am I speaking about this? Well, first of all, let me just go to my next page here on my presentation. We at Sun and Bloom Farms, after about 10 years, I have a little bit more experience with design and practice. Anna Maria, my partner, has a lot of experience with design. So myself, from small home gardens to school gardens to homesteads from 1 to 10 acres, and now including farmsteads also. So people that homestead and farm in the same time. And then Anna Maria bringing more of the public kind of like design of public spaces or for public institutions. She's designed schools. She's designed in the context of, for example, of summer camps for children. So both designing the landscape itself, but also programs. So There's a lot that we both bring to the table. So after teaching permaculture myself, I've been teaching since 2014. In the beginning, just as a facilitator, bringing different teachers in, and then later on, kind of bringing together like the design process itself, and then myself getting specialized in a few parts of the permaculture systems, speaking about them. And then later in our career, in the last 5 years, we have been teaching together, just bringing a few guest speakers and teachers also. What we noticed is that we had a lot of students that were coming from other courses that they took. And they were attracted to come to our course because how we presented ourselves is that we'll help you become a designer. We'll help you do what we do. We will explain, we will share with you, we will teach you the design process and then of course, looking at all these systems and how we put the systems together. So what we noticed that a lot of people are coming without having had a little bit of a failure in like really being able to put designs together, or putting designs together that later on had problems. Um, One big example would be, and I've actually had that kind of error in my career as a designer, where I was so excited to use my knowledge and very little experience to put a design together with a design process, um, with a design process that I've learned that was not complete, or at least it really didn't work for my approach and the type of people that I was working with. So a lot of one example was that, and I did it myself too, where I designed for somebody, and then that design, um, as beautiful as it was on paper, and when we first install it and put it together in motion, it basically became too hard for the people that got that design for themselves to manage and to continue and to bring it to fruition. So it wasn't necessarily a design flaw, even though I did design flaws before, and it could definitely happen a lot to new designers and experienced designers. Design flaws from, meaning, a very simple, placing, let's say, a tree in a spot that wasn't the best because we didn't go deep into analyzing like that specific area and the ecological context. But the biggest design flaws were people related, were related to the people and their holistic context, who they are, what they're capable of, and what's their kind of like future, what's their skills, and their potential to take these designs to fruition. Because in general, when we design in permaculture, we design at maturity, which means when we show a design, we show here's this beautiful, amazing property with all these amazing fruit trees and ponds and waters and gardens and butterflies and homes and community and all of this, right? Sometimes, of course, we'll show the iteration of different time frames, like, hey, here's how it's going to look in 5 years. How about 10? Here's 15. I mean, I know people that have done layers. I've never done it to that extent, but I do have some mentors, like Warren Brush, for example, that has done, and he is one of the founders of Quill Springs Permaculture. He does a lot of big, large scale designs and community designs in Africa, for example, and in Asia. He does a lot here in the United States too. He had an amazing, beautiful, amazing permaculture farm going too. But he's done designs where they show year 5, year 20, and even year 100, which is so amazing. So back to like certain errors that we saw in how the design process is being learned, and how the design process is being treated in the permaculture design certification courses out there, including in some advanced courses. We decided that's important. And we are both college professors, so we took some of that understanding on how people learn and you know what the learning process is, and brought some of that academic perspective to it, and then also practically, like, how do you put this right? How do you take the process itself and make it your own? So we put this process together. It does have a lot of elements of other permaculture design processes that we've seen there, but we have the experience to see that we can teach this. People took it and use it the right way, and ourselves are using it on a regular basis. This is what we use for our um, uh, clients. So this is the design process, and I know it could look pretty scary to people when they look at it. It has 10 steps, and then inside of those 10 steps, there's some explanations like what each step means and what kind of like design process milestone you would reach when you actually go through the steps. So I'm super excited for the people that are taking this course at the design certification level, because these people will actually get a lot of this. They will go deep in this, and they will get a lot of these answers, and they will really master this. Also, the people at the full content level. So the full content level is 197. The design certification level is 497. It's pretty well priced for an online design certification course, considering that it is live. So most live design certification courses out there where you would have access to the instructor are in that range, and so it's like a fair price, fair price priced fair cost price, I guess. So with that said, the people in the design certification level, they will get a lot of this on a regular basis. We'll check on those steps. They'll have a task at each step. Highly recommend, if you're watching right now or you're going to watch the recording, that you take and do every task. Make sure that I'm there to remind you with emails and messages and all of that. And then even the people that would take the full content, well, they have access to all those books and all those articles and the presentations and the recordings. If they watch, because they'll have access to the recording of the webinar live sessions, but they'll also have access to the recordings of the Q&A. Nobody else has access to those besides the full content and the design process participants. So the Q&As and the design mentorship, they will all be recorded, and you'll be able to see that, and you'll be able to also see what tasks. So if you want to take a permaculture design course by yourself and go through the process, you can do it at your own pace instead of, you know, being live. And I know I have a lot of people that told me I cannot make it to all. How many can I miss, you know, from the 20 sessions and still do a great job? And I said, hey, you're missing more than 2, you might be in trouble, especially if you're missing them and you're not going to watch them. But I have a lot of people that are taking the full content course and then see if they want to get into the design certification. So this process here, somebody that's ever taken a permaculture design course, if you take this and you take a look at it, you don't even have to take any more of the course. You will be able to refresh your design process with this, and probably learn some things from it, or look at it and say, oh, I see, like, I actually do it like this, step 1 through 10. You know, but maybe there's some details there that you might be able to see. And that's because I also used some ideas from holistic management. So people that are familiar with that, and I know some people that are watching right now are going like this with their heads because because they've heard about it, they've seen it, they've looked into it. So I just wanted to give this as value for free. This is our design process that we're using, and it's basically most of it here. I would say step basically from step 1, and then step 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, and 10 are, you know, your standard permaculture design process. So with that said, I will do a session on this, for a free session on this soon, to just kind of go through each step. But I just wanted to point out that from step 1 to step 6 is basically all a holistic context analysis of the people you're designing for and the land you are designing, like the entire context. So you're not making any design decisions until you're going through step 1 through 6. And this is what we teach in the class. But I wanted to share a scenario, and some people will laugh if anybody that's a designer is looking at this. Some people will get it right away where I'm going with this. Some people probably had this happen to them. I just wanted to share how important holistic context is. Okay, so I need to take my notes out here. I was thinking about sharing that design and show that design from the designer before, and then myself, my designer recommendations. And then last minute, I decided that it's better not to even show those, even if they're blurred, just in case they're watching and they'll be upset that I got to see there. So I'll also teach the designers, the people that are thinking about doing designs in this course, how to protect their work when they work for clients, and how to have it, either the clients will have to pay to be able to share it publicly and to anyone else, or they will have to understand that, for the amount that they're paying for the design, for example, in the plan, they do not have the rights to share that content and approach of the designer. So there is a cost to that. There's always a cost to that, and it's pretty amazing. I've shared my design approach quite a lot publicly. A lot of people do not. I share it because I'm a teacher. I want people to learn. I want people to kind of like move forward, and it always gets back to me. So with that said, let me share this context that I'm trying to explain why there's such the holistic context analysis is so important. So I met, I'll just change the names, but these guys were my neighbors where I lived in San Clemente before, San Clemente, California. And they did hire, they didn't know I was a permaculture designer, but they did hire a permaculture designer after kind of like getting, learning about permaculture, visiting some sites, including the Ecology Center in San Juan Capistrano, which is just such a beautiful example of what's possible with permaculture and regenerative design. And I'll just say, they just drank the Kool-Aid. They said, hey, because this is what permaculture was promising, what they saw. An abundance of food, right? Just fruit trees, perennial food, fruit trees and berries, like fruiting shrubs and vines and beautiful flowers and vegetable annual gardens and community and chickens and birds and butterflies, just super beautiful. And they had a property with ocean view. It's right now, I just check it, is over $2 million right now. At the time when this was happening, it was something like $1.5 million. So pretty nice place with a pretty good chunk of land, about a little bit over half an acre, actually 0.6 acres. Not too much flat, but they did have about 5,000 square feet, which I found out later. 5,000 square feet of pretty flat area to be used for more flat gardening, if you want to call it. But the rest of it was kind of like hilly on a slope. They had an amazing ocean view. Both of them in their late 50s. And also the property was bordering a wild area, so they were really loving their view that they had. They could see not just, not all homes in the ocean, but like a wild area in the ocean. So the designers right now are already taking mental notes, I know that. And so John and Angela, John retired with okay military pension. He really liked to play guitar and watch the ocean with a cold one every day. All right. I mean, the man was retired. Why not? And Angela was semi-retired, owner of an art store and workshop space. So she was teaching children and adults how to paint, and she had all kinds of art and painting, what do you call them? Supplies. So that was like her business. So she was like semi-retired, wanting to get out of it. It was just 5 minutes drive. And Angela had some gardening experience, but John really just loved eating fruits and vegetables, and especially avocados. And they both wanted to grow food for themselves. But most importantly, they wanted to make profit from the land because they saw that those beautiful, amazing landscapes at the ecology center and other places. So they wanted to make some profit both short and long term. And they had a budget of $15,000 for installing, but they didn't have like a maintenance budget. They were hoping to do it themselves. Kind of like if somebody's just like putting it together, will like help us and teach us how to do it, and we'll learn how to do it. So that particular permaculture designer group went in and they asked them some questions. They looked at the land just like your regular, visit and walkabout. And they recommended some climate and soil appropriate fruit trees, including avocados, because they learned from them that they loved avocados. And they kept on hearing Angela saying, "Oh my God, avocados are $5 at the store. If I could have a tree, how many avocados can a tree grow?" So she was getting excited about that. So they got them excited and saying like, "Hey, look how much avocados cost. An avocado tree can make 500 avocados per year or something." So she was super excited. And then they also added some edible, native, and climate appropriate shrubs and vines. They added a lot of other native plants as companions for pest deterrence, pollinator attraction, nitrogen fixation, all of the permaculture things in there. And they also proposed the veggies and herbs on the flat area operation, accessible by a kind of like of a cool ladder that they found some pictures of and said that we can design this really easy, and got Angela and John really excited. I almost want to say the correct names, but the right names, but I'm not going to do that. And then they put some automated irrigation and protective chicken wire structures for the rows, and excited them about doing a neighborhood compost system, asking people to bring their scraps and making compost. And just saying like, you're going to be so cool, you're going to engage the community, you're going to sell them veggies and make money on that. Showing them a model of how much food they could grow on that 5,000 square feet. And I'm almost done. I'm like a few more minutes and I'll be done. And then also showed them like, hey, here's how much money you're going to make in year 5. So Angela and John just basically went for it, especially because that permaculture designer provided a spectacular design and plan on how to grow all the plants that they recommended, and a conceptual kind of course of action to manage it all for $2,000. And $2,000 is a pretty affordable permaculture design course. I rarely do $2,000 full permaculture design plans, basically. And then they offered to also install. So they installed everything for the rest of the $13,000. They even offered to go and check in, like do one per month check-in maintenance for 1 year. So that was a lot for $15,000. So they got excited. And 1 year later, they called me because they realized that I lived like very close to them, and my garden was a garden that inspired them. So guess what was going on after a year? They were overwhelmed with work, first of all. Their veggie garden was failing with weeds and with pest pressure. There were gophers, rats, squirrels, birds, rabbits, and then the fruit trees were failing from gopher pressure. And you know already why, because they were really close to that wild area. They were not surrounded by a neighborhood with basically concrete and border walks and like other homes, kind of like enclosed. And I can show a picture if anybody's interested to see this specific scenario. And I do use this scenario, and I show some pictures. But basically, now a lot of gopher pressure, a lot of pest pressure, a lot of weeds. And then John, where he was going out all the time to look at the ocean with the cold one, he doesn't even go out. He's super stressed, and he's letting Angela know that it's her fault because she's supposed to be the gardener. And they really asked me, we don't want to spend any more on design because, you know, that's kind of like what they saw that I was offering. But they wanted something simple from me to help them clean up the mess and recoup the money that they invested because they saw my garden in the neighborhood. So they're like, you know, we want to do something kind of what you're doing. So I literally knew already what they needed before I asked any questions or did any further analysis of their personal context and the context of their land, because the problem already was telling me everything I needed to know. That what happened, um, anyway, I ran them through my design process so that they can feel like the value and get the same design and plan conclusion together with me. So I ran them through, and that's like a really powerful thing to do with people that you would be designing for. Um, you you know, when they're engaged in the design process, they're super excited and they feel a lot of the value. Not all people want to do that. I find that 80% of the people want to be involved in that. And they're really excited to see all the process. And that's why if you look at my design process, there's different milestones that basically help the client, the person you're designing for, including yourself, understand why you're making some design decisions at one point. So with that said, what I did, because they had a low budget and now for them permaculture design was this thing that they already hated. And I was a permaculture designer that they hated, which happens a lot. Okay. And that's another thing why it's so important to, in these courses, to focus on the design process. The design process is really important. The design process is basically success or failure. Okay. So I basically only offer them a conceptual overview design and idea, which is only step 7 in my design process. Right. So I did all of the analysis, which took quite a long time, even though I knew kind of like what the answers would be, because I had a lot of clients similar to them. I've worked in the same area for a while. Um, and by the point I got to 7, I was trying to upsell them to get a more detailed design, but they already start working because they got so excited. So I'll tell you what I did, and you'll be very, very shocked about what I offered these people to do. So I told them, as a profit making business, both short and long term, I propose you purchase and sow 12 main types of seeds of native cut flowers, 3 per season, and you can use them in all of your nook and crannies of your available land, and then convert the irrigation that you had already for veggies and herbs to grow these plants, which would not be a lot of water, which was another problem. I forgot to say that Angela and John were telling me that they were growing weeds and paying so much of that California water price, and they were actually in trouble. Okay. So I'll tell you why I did that. Because Angela was already an art person. Angela was already having a place where she was basically, now she had to actually work more because she didn't want to be home. She was stressed. It's so incredible what a bad design can do. So she had the place where people already were coming for art, right? That's how I looked at it. And there were a lot of people that were coming through to get art materials, art supplies, and the people that were inclined towards arts. So I proposed to her to start a cut flower business from her really small area, which wasn't a lot, half an acre, right? But half an acre of native flowers, it's a lot, actually, if you are actually looking at it, and especially right now. And I will be sharing in my course a little bit more about that business model, because Anna Maria, my partner, is the one who created the business model before we gave it to them, like, of course, in their context. And we did that too on our property. And Anna Maria ran a very, very successful native cut flower operation for a few years when we were there in San Clemente. And that actually helped us gain a lot of clients in other parts of our businesses and also a lot of funds. So it's really powerful because these native cut flowers, they had no major pests. to completely, eat them. Of course, we had to do some research, and we knew that some native plants are better for cut flowers than others. And also very, very, very simple to grow because they were growing with available nutrients, available water, and they were very easy. All she had to do was to time her sowing. And then guess what happened? Some of these flowers, she didn't even need to go and pick the seeds to save to plant next year. They self-seeded, which was amazing. I've heard that at one point she was selling seeds. I know that she was sending me seeds all the time. And I said, please don't send me California native seeds to Missouri. I don't need them anymore. I, I don't use them anymore, but I did use them in other projects in California. And then I made a few other recommendations for, how to save some of her fruit trees and how to grow some of the food, how to, once she starts making some income with the flowers, to start paying somebody to come and take care of other things on her property. And she became actually very successful, where she transformed her art studio into a flower shop and made more money than she has ever done. Of course, right now she does way more than just native flowers on her property. She's like pretty deep into the flower business right now, both from the seeds point of view and cut flowers. So it was like really, really powerful to see that. So why I wanted to share this story is that a lot of people get all of this permaculture knowledge, the details of how to grow things, how to build things, what, fruit tree guilds and food forest plants and nitrogen fixers and compost and soil and beautiful, amazing natural resources and all that. And then they get so excited to plug in all these things in context where they do not work. And we have to look at designing with permaculture. We have to stay, really, really close and put the lenses of the ethics first of all, and that will really help us. But then also stay true to the principles. One of the principles, for example, is to design in harmony with nature. You can't force things on nature. She will fight back. So we want to integrate things and design with that in mind. And to do that, we really, really need to dive deep into the context. Now, let me just say this. If Angela and John would have had a different age and a different kind of energy and a different kind of drive to make the vegetable and the herb business possible, they could have definitely made it possible. But they would have never made enough environmental and economic and social impact with growing herbs and veggies in that context the way they were able to do it with native cut flowers. And this is the power of permaculture, that if we're putting the right lenses on and we're analyzing these things and we're making decisions like that, we can make the type of impact that permaculture is inviting us to do. So with that said, I wanted to invite you to come and learn how to look at things in this way. Take our permaculture design course, Level Up Permaculture. This is our trademark approach to teaching permaculture. We want to reach as many people as possible. We have the free version, the donation version. We have the design certification version. We hope as many people as possible register at that level and learn how to do that. It's very simple. I mean, if you write Level Up Permaculture in Google right now, you will find us. You will find our course from Sun and Bloom Farms. Check out the topics. I mean, we are going super deep into not just the design process, but we're going to talk about everything that's inside the permaculture systems. We'll talk about soil, we'll talk about water, we'll talk about natural building materials. We'll talk about animal integration and husbandry. We'll talk about entrepreneurial approaches that are regenerative and in tune with nature and people, really earth and people centered. We'll talk about energy. We'll talk about natural dyes, preservation, and we'll find the perfect spot for each one of these to fit within a design, so that we're not excited to put everything that we learn. Let's put everything, to work if it doesn't work in the context. So with that said, for this week, I'm probably going to do a live almost every day, just giving you more pieces from what you would be getting from the course. I hope you will be registering. I hope you will be joining us. There's a lot of amazing opportunities to design landscape for yourself, your homestead, your farmstead, your home garden, your neighborhood garden, your school garden, your entire city, your country, if you want to, because everything is scalable that we teach in permaculture. And connect with others, maybe join some of these projects. And if you do it at the design certification level, we're going to have people vote for your design. There are quite a lot of people that will be voting to basically get 10% of the entire funds that we raise from the design certification level. So you could be getting your money back if you or more. At this point, you'll get more than just your money back at the design certification level. So thank you for being here. I did say it's going to be 15 to 30 minutes. It ended up being 45. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got some value. Please share this with other people, and any feedback, anytime, would love to hear from you. Thank you so much. Sun and Bloom Farms, Level Up Permaculture. Come and learn. I'll see you another day this week. Okay. How do I even end this? All right.